You're listening to Have You Ever Wondered? It is Friday, July 29th, 2022. I'm Chloe. And the title of today's episode is 1.1 billion dollars. Today's another historic day, you guys. First of all, today's show is the first show this week that I am conducting without a massive headache. The rain came last night and it was glorious. And I feel like a normal person again. Well, I mean, I'm not normal, but my head doesn't hurt. Here's the other reason why today is a historic day. Tonight, in the U.S., the Mega Millions lottery drawing is going to take place, and there is a chance that someone may win over $1.1 billion off a $2 lottery ticket. Isn't America grand? Okay, I am not a habitual or even an occasional lottery player or gambler. I've never even used a slot machine. But if I'm paying attention, if I have availability, and if the jackpot is over $1 billion, then I will consider partaking. And those three criteria are in place today. But the main reason why is because of my late grandmother. The first time I remember a lottery jackpot here being over $1 billion was in the winter of 2016. So it was January of that year. I looked at it. And within the following 6 months, my maternal grandmother, who is still one of the best people I've ever known or known about, would pass away from this earth. But at the time, she was still with us. And she was the habitual lottery player. I don't think she was a gambling addict. You know, it's not like she'd be heading down to the casino to blow her whole paycheck every 2 weeks or whatever. And she wasn't in like massive amounts of debt because of it that I know of. You know, I think she just liked to have a little like excitement. You know, that, ooh, what if I win feeling you get when you play. And I remember spending time at her house as a little kid. And at some point during the day, she would say, come on, we're going to go walk around the corner, which meant we're going to go take a walk to the store that's a few blocks from here, from where her house was, that sells lottery tickets, get some fresh air, get some sun, get some snacks, and then come back to the house and chill. You know, it's cool. And as far as I know, that's mainly what it was to her. You know, like a reason to leave the house once a day, each day, even as she got older and older. And it was a fun little game. It was kind of like a hobby. It was like a little money drain, but not that much for someone who's on a fixed income. And it was diverting, but it didn't require a lot of time, energy, knowledge, strenuous physical activity, none of that. You know, it was just fun. She could play the numbers in the afternoon and then watch in the evening to see if any matched up. And, you know, she'd win a few $100s or a few $1,000s here and there, and life would go on, you know. So that day in January 2016, I went and bought one ticket. It's very confusing to put it all together, for me, a novice. And that jackpot, which in the end was over $1.5 billion. But at the time when I bought the ticket, it was still just over a billion. I took it to the hospital with me, and she wasn't doing great, but she was awake. And I used to love to just sit with her, even though I hate hospitals. And we would chat about whatever. And I was very excited because I knew she would just be like utterly appalled, but like in a positive way. So I get there, I sit down, I go, Grandma, guess what I picked up on the way here? And she's like, what? I said, I picked up a lottery ticket. She looked like, you don't play the numbers. And I'm like, I know I don't, but you're never gonna guess what the jackpot is. So she's looking at me and I'm like, it's $1 billion. If it were a comedy like show or movie, she would have done a spit take, because that was the look on her face. It's awesome. And like her eyes lit up with this amazement, because I think she was born in like 1929 or 1930, like this is like Depression era, and like, how like older people are talking about, I used to be able to go get bread for like 5 cents. And and then we're talking about the lottery being $1 billion. It's just like mind blowing how much the world changes during the course of someone's lengthy life. And so she was used to playing these little drawings for like $500 or $1,000, and I'm sitting there with a ticket that could be worth $1 billion. Obviously, it wasn't. But that wasn't the point. And it wasn't even that she wished she could get up and play herself. It was that something that she felt intimately involved with had grown to such a scale while she was still alive. It was like she had gotten to see a Black president of the United States, and she had gotten to see the lottery get to $1 billion, and she was good to go. Like, I had a good time on Earth. So between the Powerball and the Mega Millions, which are the two major multi-state lotteries in the U.S., meaning you can play in not all, but most of the states. So the one for today, the Mega Millions, is 45 of the 50 states and multiple territories like Puerto Rico and stuff like that. There have only been 2 other over $1 billion jackpots. So the one I mentioned, the 1.5 that I told her about, 2 more since then, and the one today. That's 4 total. And so now that she's gone, I kind of like the idea of buying a ticket for her today, just to have it, let her smile from heaven and think about it happening again. Because I missed the other 2. I don't know what I was doing, but I wasn't paying attention. But I'm aware of this one, so I'm going to participate. Now, the likelihood of me winning $1 billion is ridiculously low. It's about 1 in 302.5 million, especially since I'm not going to spend more than $5 or $10 on tickets. I still have to go in later and figure out how to do it. But some people really go out. They might spend like hundreds or thousands of dollars and consider it an investment, or go in with people from where they work, or get some family members together and go, if we win, we'll split it. There's an episode of Friends that's like that. And if you won $1 billion off $1,000 investment, that would be worth it, right? So what do you do if you win? Because they're just, even if someone doesn't win today, they're just going to keep letting it get bigger until someone wins. So someone's either going to win around $1 billion, or they're going to win more than that, depending on what happens, unless multiple people win and then they split it. Now, I know, like, U.S. people, we've all heard people winning major lotteries a million, 10 million, $100 million, and then like X years later, their lives are ruined, bankrupt, destitute, estranged from the family, you know, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, list of tragedies. They invested in 10 different terrible businesses. They started giving away houses and cars like Christmas cards. They picked up a nasty coke habit. See, there's so many ways to utterly ruin your life with an inordinate amount of money that you're not prepared to handle. But if you plan properly, you don't have to be brought down by something that's supposed to be fun and cool and happy and whatever. So I did a little research, and here's what you're supposed to do if you win a major lottery like today's. You need to maintain anonymity for as long as possible, forever if possible. Depending on the state, you are allowed to collect the winnings either under another name or not with your name at all, meaning they can't publicize it. They can put you in the news. You just go in there real quietly and say, hey, I got the ticket, and then they send you the money. There are not very many states that are like that. Apparently South Carolina is one of them, which is where I used to live. And a guy won one of those $1 billion ones. I can't remember, one of the other three. And no one knows who he is, which is totally cool. He's just out there chilling somewhere. I don't know, maybe he spent it all. But no one knows who he is, and he got to collect it. But other states, you have to tell them, and they want to take your picture, and they want to put it all over the news and write about you and ask for money and blah, blah, blah. Okay. The other thing you need is, if it's a paper ticket, you need to not lose it. Some states you can play online. Pennsylvania is one of them. But, you know, in a lot of places you have to go and physically purchase the ticket, which means you have to physically not lose it, because the way they run the lottery, it's not the person who bought the ticket, it's the person who has the ticket. So if you lose it, someone else finds it, it's now their money. You also need a lawyer and an accountant. And from yourself internally, a legitimate plan for what you actually want to do with the real life amount of money that you end up with after you take what I would assume is the lump sum and not the annuity, and you've paid all the federal and state taxes. One of the articles I read said that you should also consider, and I think this is quite good advice, hiring someone whose sole job it is to tell people no when they ask for your money. That's everyone, friends, family, charities, strangers. I'm not saying you have to say no to all charities. I'm saying you need to hire someone whose job it is to evaluate people's requests for money, because they will be endless after people find out. And then they get to make the decision. They get to say, I'm sorry, we're tied up in investments. We can't invest in that right now. Or, you know, no, Cousin George, I'm not going to fund your insert strange business idea here. Or, yes, legitimate charity, we'd be happy to send you some money. Check is in the mail. You know, like, you need someone that's not you to help go through all that so that your life doesn't get consumed with people just coming up to you because they want something. And actually, as I was reading, I was like, well, man, that job kind of sounds like more fun than winning the lottery itself. To just like tell scammers and stuff, like, no, you can't have any of the money. Go away. But of that list of things that you need if you win, gosh, the anonymity is the most important part of that. You know, like, if you win, or let's say I won, I don't think much about my life would change right away. I wouldn't like quit working. I wouldn't move out of this apartment. I wouldn't buy anything massive besides the one thing I have my eye on. I don't know, maybe winning the lottery is lost on me. But I was wondering, like, would I trade my anonymity for $1 billion? And it's not the dealing with the press part. It's not the being on TV or having articles written. Like, used to dealing with media, that's not the issue. But it's like they said, that nonstop barrage of people who just have name recognition for you. Maybe like you went to the same elementary school, or they met you at a party once, or people who kind of know you but they don't know you, and then all of a sudden they decide after 20 years or whatever that they need to reestablish this connection. That would really frustrate me. And I have no issue with being generous, like giving money to charities and other nonprofit organizations. That sounds awesome. There are lots of very wealthy people who have their own charitable foundations, and you can apply for grants and loans, and they give away millions of their own dollars like every year. I'm not opposed to doing something like that. But like people just calling and texting and emailing all the live long day, just like asking for stuff, yeesh, no. So if you're gonna play and if you're gonna win, yeah, you can find a lawyer. There's so many lawyers and accountants and financial advisors in the US. You can set up a trust, and find some trustees. You can make a plan for what you want to do with the money. But I think the main thing of import for whoever's life is about to be changed by this ridiculous amount of money is to protect their heart and mind and relationships, because that's the thing that screws people up and leaves them destitute years later. Now, once you have all that in place, you just claim the prize. From what I read, it takes a couple weeks for them to get the cash together and get it to you. And then you just sit back and enjoy it. Travel or whatever. So I'm kind of curious to see what's going to happen. And if you're going to play, good luck. Now, as fun as it is to imagine what you would do with $1 billion, all the time and energy I put into thinking about money while I was doing research got on my nerves. So I wanted to choose something that was the exact opposite of money and materialism for poetry time. And I went back to my mainstay because she knows nature. And that's what I wanted to think about. This is Mary Oliver's poem called First Happenings. A morning glory, morning with its usual glory. Dawn particularly startling with citrons and mauves. Petunias in the garden flashing their tender signals of gratitude. The sunflowers creak in their grass-colored dresses. Cosmos, the 4 o'clocks, the sweet Alyssum nod to the roses, who so very politely nod back. And now, it is time to go to work. At my desk, I look out over the fluttering petals, little fires, each one fresh and almost, but not quite, replicable. Consider wearing such a satisfying body. Consider being with your entire self. Such a quiet prayer. Her writing is like a breath of fresh air to my brain. Okay. Hey, we're back at this point again. Thank you so much for being here all week. It's meaningful to me that we get to do this. Oh, and if you didn't have time, go listen to some of those love songs and albums from yesterday's episode. The list is still in the description. I'm going to leave it up through the weekend. I didn't do the YouTube because I had been awake for 23 hours and I wanted to go to sleep, but I'll probably get it up later today. And depending on what time you listen to this, there's still a nice list of them either in my stories or they'll be in the highlights. So there's a bunch of ways that you can go find what I talked about and listen to some of it for yourself. Have an amazing weekend. And I'll see you back here on Monday.